Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Malifaux, and tonight we've got a bit of a fun one. Documenting the adventures of the Fateful 8, the baddest, somewhat creepy posse around these here parts. One of the aesthetics that drew me to Malifaux was the cowboys, Wild West element that it had going for it. And with the factions I've chosen, that flavour hasn't really come out so strongly, and I think it's about time to change that. So we're going to have a bit of a go at a Malifaux spaghetti western. For terrain, we have our impassable blocking, hardcover buildings, a forest, hazardous height to climbable railings, hardcover height 5 or something, severe terrain, hardcover, more hazardous, hardcover height 4, blocking. Looks about it. I lose deployment, and so the Fateful 8 swagger into town, dusters billowing dramatically as the tumbleweeds tumble past. We've got Hayridin the Kid, Forgotten Earp, Sue Earp, Hanny Oakley, Doc McHoliday with plastic surgery, moonlighting and decaying aura, Calamity Nilsson, Doc McHoliday's trusty zombie chihuahua, and Texas Autopsy. Over on the other side of town, the Arcanist gang are plotting some kind of bank heist or something, and they're led by the dastardly Professor Ramos, who's feeling a bit under pressure with the electric summoning and field generator. He's got a brass arachnid, a silent one, Joss, with bleeding edge tech, an electrical creation, mobile toolkit, and Howard Langston with imbued energies. So we've got a headhunter, and I've brought a shooting crew with no lures. It's a bit different for me. So I'm going to try to make his guys advance through a lead storm, whittle them down, try not to kill them at range, but make them manageable for when they reach combat. Actually picking up the heads we'll get to when we get to it. Don't really have anything special planned for that. My crew is virtually all enforcers, so hunting party is going to be a no-brainer, especially as I know Ramos is known for his spider minion summoning. So confident I'll get that. In terms of denying it, I'm going to hide this autopsy right at the back of the board so that he'll only ever get one if he's going for it from the Chihuahua. And then I can choose whether or not to get flesh constructs and canine remains as they happen. So the way my crew's been built, I've got no upgrades for show of force. It's always risky running a set list into any old strategy. Leave your mark would be dumb. There's no way I'm going to be fast enough to get behind his lines. And I'm going to need all guns on deck to stop those spidery monstrosities. Claim jump, similar thing. I can't spare the resources to go marker dropping somewhere else on the board. So that means frame for murder. And I've put it on Hayridin as he is very likely to get into a very vulnerable position. Bleeding on people and giving me positives to damage. He will probably have to take him down. Could put it on Rafkin, but I might start to get a bit of a reputation for that. And Sue, Hans and Forgotten Marshall are all a bit more survivable in their own way. So let's set those saddles ablaze and clean up this town. Turn 1, yep, pretty happy with that. I give Ramos the initiative, the electrical construct goes up around over here I imagine. Joss then goes and kills it, which means Ramos gets 2 scrap in total, which he happily turns into arachnids. Meanwhile, the 8 are standing there in the street, all squinty-eyed, spitting their tobacco, observing the Wild Wild West rip-off happening in front of them. The Chihuahua gnaws at McMorning's leg, putting him on 2 poison, and then does his odour thing, putting McMorning up to 4 poison, and Rafkin on 2 poison. The zombie walks out to this position here. I'm thinking that as he's got such fast killers like Howard Langston, I've got such squishy little minions and peons, I think there's a good chance Ramos has taken hunting party, and so what I'm doing here is just trying to set bait, lure Howard out for a first turn charge if possible. But the Arcanist gang is in no hurry. Rowan and Hayridin take up positions by the town gate, and on the corner of the knick-knack store, the Arachnids dick around. Hans gets a bead on Howard Langston just around the corner, takes a shot and does weak damage ignoring armour, which is then healed up by the silent one. Sue makes his stand boldly in the middle of the high street, and Dr. McMorning slinks into the knick-knack store alley, injectioning Hayridin out to take point. Again, just trying to sugarcoat that bait and draw Langston in this turn. This is a little obvious, but my thinking is either he charges and kills Hayridin and I win some points, or he slips past Hayridin, ignoring the bait, and tries to take down one of these two, in which case he'll be within Hayridin's 4 inches aura, which will allow McMorning to end him next turn. Hopefully he won't take out both these guys. But I'm impressed my opponent does not take the bait, and is more than happy to let me come to him. Dang. Ooh, something I didn't mention was why I chose to deploy the corner I did. I've got quite a shooty crew. Deploying here gives me a large area of shooting open range, and if my opponent is deploying on this corner, he either has to go through this hazardous terrain or goes the long way around this wall, or gets funneled by this forest. I know the Arachnids don't care, but they're not the ones I'm worried about. Howard and Joss will have to go through either one of these directions if they want to make the use of their valuable AP, which makes their movements predictable and lets me counter-attack them more easily. I have to get the first hit on these guys with McMorning, otherwise he's going to go through me like butter. Turn 2, as I'd only referenced the field guide in the previous turn, this is looking pretty hot. The Forgotten Marshal steps out of the shadows next to McMorning, and the Arcanists take the first activation. Ramos had summoned this electrical creation back in the first turn, and that moved over here for some reason. Not sure what it was up to. And the Marshal blasts it apart and scores me Hunting Party and steps back into the void. Frickin' cool ability. Looks like more spiders get summoned, and I believe the Brass Arachnid uses its Wires ability to give itself tomes and then reactivates itself, which with the electrical creation has given Ramos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chaff activations, technically 8 chaff activations this turn. And with the threat of Joss and Howard Langston able to go last with double activations, you know, this is really, really tough. I've got to play so careful. Hans takes another shot at Langston, and I think he probably even misses. I don't really care, I was just trying to pot shot, see if I could, just by luck get a heavy hit, but didn't. No one else is in range, and no one else is going to be in range by the time the rest of his crew is activated, so I put Hayridin right up here. I'm wincing at how obvious this is with my frame for murder target, but I don't really feel I've got a whole lot of choice. If he falls for the bait, Hayridin dies and I score points. If he doesn't, Langston has to waste more of his AP either going through the forest or running around the long way behind this pillar, because I've blocked off this gap. Rafkin sprints out across the open and goes to stand by the entrance to the knick-knack shop, and I decide to put McMorning all the way over here. I want to make absolutely sure he's out of range of reactivating Joss and Langston, and from this position, if the spiders are going to go for leave your mark, he's in position to really put a stop to that, and my poison push at the end of the turn will give me the option to either block a marker perhaps, or get back into position for the Alpha Strike next turn, because I'm pretty damn sure Howard and Joss are coming in this turn. The spider comes up and drops a scheme marker, my zombie is hidden behind the building again, fearing Langston. The brass spider reactivates, gives both Joss and Langston reactivate, and it's all my opponent's play now. Langston comes up and drops a scheme marker, and then he doesn't take the bait. Oh, he skips around Hayridin and charges Sue. Hits him unstoppably with the execution trigger, and I spend 2 soul stones to stop it. I virtually haven't used any of my cards again, and that is a hand I want to keep. He hits again with the execution trigger, but then Black Joker's the damage flip. And Sue lives! Joss comes forward and charges Hayridin, and hope kindles in my heart. Hayridin had gone defensive, so Joss's first attack misses, and then I cheat high, one of my big cards, forcing Joss to miss once more. I need Darius to think that I was bluffing with Hayridin. And this is how we end the turn. McMorning poison pushes up, obviously couldn't get to within range to block this marker, and so my opponent scores Claim Jump. Turn 3 again, I've held on to most of my good cards, and I can't remember if I soulstoned, I might have. Unfortunately, I lose the initiative, and Sue is tossed aside like a ragdoll to Howard Langston Red Joker damage. He must have been on his last wound after that first attack. And the arachnid monstrosity nimbles over to Rowan and slices her good. And it's up to McMorning to stop this rampaging death machine before he gets the chance to reactivate and devour my entire crew. I charge Langston and make sure I severe the first attack. 11 wounds becomes 5, and that looks a lot more manageable all of a sudden. And now I need to be really careful. My next attack hits weak damage, which is 3 because of Rowan Nilsson's aura and the fact that I'd poisoned the big bastard. But that leaves him on 2 wounds. So I Rancid Transplant the spider, which, because Langston is in range and he's counts as undead thanks to plastic surgery, Spider takes, 4 poison, and Langston takes 1 more damage, putting him on his last wound and 2 poison. This means that when he reactivates, he'll die from poison due to McMorning's catalyst, and I won't count as having killed him. Frame for Murder is excellent on Howard Langston because you just absolutely have to deal with him. But at the same time, it's about the most obvious play in the game. And I will literally do backflips to avoid giving it up the 3 points at least. I love this scheme, it just makes the game so interesting. So yeah, I've left Langston on 1 wound, reactivate and die, bitch. And now I go for the expunge on the arachnid. But I've used up all my high cards now, and their freaking little thing denies me. That would have been so good. Starius combines the arachnids into a swarm, and these things have a vicious reputation. Hayridin jumps over Joss's head, putting himself within 1 inch of both Langston and Joss, and the spider, but pulses don't matter against it. And then I do a little bit of damage to Ramos's henchmen. So I'm not sure about this move. I think what I was thinking was that I am not going to let Langston reactivate. I know he's got 2 healers. I don't know what their ranges are, but yeah, so I'm basically waiting out to see whether or not he uses them to heal Langston. And I have Rafkin here, ready to put the boot in with 3 minimum damage, 3 attacks, if he does. But I think I was worried that something might go wrong, and so I've put Hayridin here so that I can shoot him or hit him in some way. Relent and Blackblood Howard to death as a kind of panic button. I think that's what I was thinking because I subsequently forgot about the consequences of doing this, because it conflicts with my objective of getting Hayridin killed. Joss decides he's had enough of Hayridin, hits him, and yeah, opens up the field, getting him 2 points for frame for murder and me 3 points. Beautiful. So we've got Hayridin's head, Sue's head, and Langston's head. I'm out of range to get Sue's head, so Rafkin just grabs Langston's. And this was interesting. I need to kill a minion this turn. The Forgotten Marshal appeared over here next to McMorning at the start of the turn, but he's only got a 6-inch charge and a 1-inch melee, so I was out of range to get the spider. However, he ended up being within McMorning's plastic surgery aura, which makes him undead. The Marshal has a 0 action, which gives undead and spirit models within his own aura +2 charge. So it worked out that the Marshal was able to use his own aura on himself and charge the spider, doing a little bit of damage, but sadly failing to kill it. Ramos then fried the brave Marshal, and he turned into a Kruligan, the only model I don't have. Sod's law, right? The spider then failed to do anything to the Kruligan, but at least I've bodged up his claim jump. At the end of the turn, the spider swarm gets in position by the head marker, and I forgot to mention the Chihuahua came up and actually did charge Langston for the hell of it. Obviously failed to kill him and put some more poison on McMorning and Rafkin, so they will heal, or at least Rafkin will heal and McMorning can push on into combat. I've got 1 soulstone left, and I reckon I'm going to wreck face next turn. Mention must go to Hans, who did frickin' nothing this turn by failing to kill or even hit anything. We go to turn 4, and that'll do, pig. I lose the initiative, but spend my last soulstone and get it. And McMorning makes Joss pretty. Bit annoying that I had to focus to get the expunge on a straight flip because of Joss's upgrade. Regretting not shooting that off with hands now, but I'm pretty sure he would have missed anyway. But yeah, now that takes a huge pressure off my centre, and I'm starting to feel I'm going to bring this game under control. But Hans isn't quite done fucking up, so he black jokers his focus shot on the spider, failing to score me hunting party and leaving McMorning to deal with the reactivating spider swarm. Ramos magnetises towards the swarm, that was a good trick, and brings down the flesh construct, summoning 2 spiders off the scrap. Ugh. McMorning's now at defense 3, and now I know what it feels like to be surrounded by canine remains. Ooh, this isn't going to be pretty. Instead of coming to the doc's aid, Calamity Rafkin decides to go pick up a head marker, keeping eyes on the prize, because I reckon I'm going to struggle to pick it up with anyone else. Chihuahua's gotten in and poisoned Ramos, so when McMorning fights his way clear of the spiders, we're going to have words. Despite being defense 3, McMorning takes his beating incredibly well. My deck was running really hot at this point, and he survives the spiders' activations without too many scratches. However, the swarm's got another activation, and this time its attacks just keep nibbling away. He's doing like 2 damage, and this thing's got a trigger that means it can just keep attacking, although its attack value goes down each time, and being defense 3 starts to tell. I've still got a 12 in hand, and I have the opportunity to stop one of the spider's final attacks, as I get to cheat after my opponent. And as he's been doing 2 damage each time, and I've got like 6 or 7 wounds left, I decide to let him have it, in the hopes that he'll then activate the silent one and attack McMorning with her cast action, which I can then stop with my big card, and that will prevent her from picking up the head. But it's not to be. The spider severes the damage, taking me to my last wound. I've still got poison, so I'm going to die anyway, and McMorning gets dragged under by the swarm. Oh, that's not good. Silent one goes, picks up the head, and my cowardly, autopsy is now running for the centre to try to be back up. Too little too late, my centre has pretty much fallen apart, and the game hangs in the balance. Turn 5, can the Fateful aint pull through? Gonna be honest, not totally sure what happened here. I look like I've lost initiative, and it looks like the spider swarm has moved out, and somehow there's a scrap marker. I'm not sure what ability caused that to happen. I choke things up with the Chihuahua, poisoning Ramos and Rafkin, and trying to stop anything from being able to pick up scrap markers. Ramos goes and summons more spiders, does his reduce the defense trick on Rafkin, but miraculously she survives. But I think we can give Ramos a break. He probably isn't used to charging. The plucky Kruligan seizes its chance. It can just get in to snap the head without anybody getting engaged, and then places itself over here, blocking the spider swarm from getting to Rafkin and putting another melee it will have to disengage from if it wants to reactivate and get away and drop a marker. Silent one grabs a head in the backfield, and Rafkin kills a spider, which doesn't score me hunting party because, I must have won initiative, and Hans finally killed. I think it must have been the robotic toolkit or something. That's why that scrap's there. So we scored hunting party with Hans. But killing the arachnid does drop a head right next to my guild autopsy. But I just can't win the duel to stop the spider from disengaging and going to stand on it. Oh, sadness. So the autopsy does what it can, go stand by the spider, and again just try to stop it from getting out of engagement if it reactivates. I'm winning this game by 1 point, and all he needs to do is score claim jump to make it a draw. The spider comes up over here, drops a scheme marker, puts itself in the forest so that the brass arachnid will have line of sight. Brass arachnid moves into range, and black jokers its reactivate on the arachnid. Oh my goodness. And with that horrendous twist of fate, the game ends. The Arcanists scored 4 points for Headhunter, 2 points for Frame for Murder, and 1 point for Claim Jump. The Resurrectionists scored 3 points for Headhunter, 3 points for Frame for Murder, and 2 points for Hunting Party, making this game 8-7 to the Resurrectionists. And the Fateful aint have upheld the law, but at a heavy cost. That was such a good game. That was really, really fun. Ramos's activation control is so powerful when backed up with the likes of Howard Langston and Joss. I had to play that approach so carefully. This is my first real game, I think, against a true out-activation list. I faced Gremlins before, but this felt pretty different from the Summons Gremlins that I've faced. It's literally just spiders until you've activated your entire crew. And it means you've got to be so careful not to leave any openings or weak points in your formation. Whoops! Poor Sue. Absolutely had to guarantee that McMorning got the alpha strike on Langston, and then Joss. Really pleased I was able to pull it off, but my amazing control hands certainly helped. What a super fun, flavourful crew. It's not that strong, but man is it stylish. To be honest, although Hans was part of the original crew idea, the morning before the game I decided to swap him out for Anna Lovelace because damn, she just does everything so much better than he does. When I got to their game, however, I found I'd forgotten to pack Anna, so we went with Hans anyway. And I have to say, he didn't disappoint because he was as shit as I thought he would be. Love the model, but I just don't see him outside of Outcasts. But yeah guys, that was the Fateful 8's first outing. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.